I believe your text was Brock Bowers stroking his chin .gif. And I was like, I'm on it. I'm already on it. Welcome to My Got a Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I review Georgia's 27-20 win over Auburn. We talk about our experiences on Saturday and what stood out to us during the game. As always, remember to check out the newly redesigned MyGottaPodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at My Got a Podcast. Finally, we'd love for you to check out our presenting sponsor, Oxia Time, at oxiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. Just like we thought it was going to be, right, John?
Yeah. No, exactly how we planned it, how we drew it up. Pat on the back to you, Jim. You nailed it.
Hey, I was closer.
Clearly.
Oh, man. I think we failed to factor in, and, credit to the listener questions. We had multiple folks talking about being nervous and Jordan hair voodoo. So I guess we should have heeded those warnings. Apologies.
Yeah. There's always some, you never factor in the whole, like literally everything going wrong for Georgia. Slow start, turnovers, Auburn playing out of their mind, our defense being unable to stop a nosebleed, particularly in the first half. So, yeah. Blame me, Jim. Blame me. I don't have bourbon today. I've got to get rid of this stuff because I can't have any of it lingering for too much longer. But before the game, I stopped and did my grocery shopping. I was texting you. Unfortunately, I didn't get the recipes for Ponda's famous bean dip. I ended up going with the fortunately simpler sausage dip. Okay. And I saw this pumpkin ale at Aldi that actually usually has pretty good beer selections. If you've ever purchased beer from Aldi, I'd recommend it. But in this case, I bought a pumpkin ale, which I had seen, and I hadn't had a pumpkin ale yet this season. Yeah. And I figured I would consume the orange. So that was my pregame drink, unfortunately, and I very quickly pivoted to a Kentucky Mule, alluding to what was coming next.
Okay, got it. I usually don't do bourbon during the games. I went with a standard, so I don't think my beer would have had any impact because I always have or this week I had Classic City Lager during the game.
See, that's normally a normal beer go-to for me during the games. But
did you do your run? Did you run on Saturday?
I did. It was late.
Okay, see,
it was late. Yeah,
that's okay.
I mean, it was a slow start. I don't know, man. I had a slow start to it. I actually had. I don't know why I thought this because we're on fall break and they had already kind of told us that the practices were canceled, but in my head, I got the notification that Carter had baseball practice in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I'll just run during his practice. But he didn't have practice. And I was like, I had to scramble kind of last minute.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Did I not respond with the recipe fast enough? If so, my bad.
I was in the grocery store, so I didn't get it until after.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Pro tip, you can always search the My Got a Podcast Twitter account.
It's true.
I think I can't remember. That's actually how I found it because I can never
Hold on, let me consult the Twitters.
Exactly, because I'm like, I know, I wrote it down. I wrote it down there.
That's funny
because I know how to do it on my own, but I can never remember the sizes of things. Right, by this, it's this much sour cream and it's this much. I can never remember. I have it written down there. So. Anyway,
we need to get a dog Twitter cookbook going.
Seriously.
all the different recipes, like Bobby's steak seasoning, and I could probably get Daniel. Daniel is Daniel Smith, John's brother. He's like a baker. Dude makes some legit cakes.
Thus the desire to have cake after the Clemson victory.
Hey, you know what? That's probably true. We could have Ponda's famous bean dip. Some other recipes out there. Hunter could give us his Low Country boil recipe.
Yeah.
complete with the what's his special ingredient, like pineapple or something.
Oh yeah, it is something that like I was unaware of. So
Yeah. Anyway, there was football played
there was football played. Um, so,
allegedly.
yeah, I mean, where to start?
I mean, let's just start with the obvious. So I believe I don't have the stats in front of me. I should have looked at it up ahead of time. But like Carson had been pretty perfect all season long, and picked a pretty inopportune time to throw an interception.
Yeah, I will say. So on the pick, I mean, there was actually another pass that I would say that was worse that didn't get intercepted. But even on that one, he was getting. There was one in the, I think it was in the fourth quarter when he got, or was either, I don't know, it was the second half when he was getting hit
Mm-hmm.
as he threw, and like an Auburn player dove and probably should have picked it off. But that
Right.
one wasn't so much a bad decision. It was just he got hit as he was
He
trying to
got
throw the
hit.
ball away. But
Right.
I've got to give the DB credit. I mean, he broke in on that ball very well. I will say, I mean, you pointed out in our preview that Auburn had a pretty good pass defense.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed. I mean, that was a heck of an interception. So I don't know. Some of that I got to give him credit for that.
He's also the SEC's leader in interceptions.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he had only that was his first. I mean, it was Carson's second interception. The other one was the where he thought he had a free play against Ball State and kind of heaved one up, and it was uh, a deflected pass, a drop, I guess I would say. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, agreed. But I mean, between as crazy as the game was, as close as it was, I mean, 14 points off turnovers, you take that away, and it's not as close. It's more kind of in line with what we were thinking, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think I had messaged that. So all throughout the game, right? So the first half was obviously a nightmare for everybody. I was sitting there pondering like what my responses were going to be at church on Sunday morning with all these Auburn fans that I know. Um,
Okay.
I was just imagining like the meltdown that was going to happen with the Auburn folks in our community. But anyway, that it was not to be. But at the same time, like I was worried, but like again, I guess I kind of go back to what Kirby's been preaching is like composure, connection. What else did he say? Like I don't know. It's like
Resiliency.
resiliency. Yeah, yeah. Composure, moment by moment, right? Like
Yeah.
I did not think that we were losing as badly as the score showed. And even though it felt weird, like Lindsay, like every time something bad would happen, like Lindsay would like look over and she was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, this isn't ideal, but it
Right.
is what it is right now. And at one point, I was sitting on the couch and like Carter was freaking out, and he was like, "Dude, why are you so relaxed? Like, we're getting our butts kicked." And I looked over at it and I was like, I mean, I just feel like we're gonna figure it out. And that's kind of where Kirby's brought this program. Had this been like 10, 20 years ago, like you know, we'd be listening to Munson and you'd be watching, you know, Rick and you know, Donnan and whoever, like you'd be watching those guys and you'd be like losing your mind, like biting your nails, like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Munsoning is definitely dead. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
A couple of back-to-back national championships will help that along. But at the same time, like Kirby's just built a machine, and they just like if there ever was an Alabama like performance where you just like we're inevitable, you know what I mean? Like that's
Mm.
kind of how we've become. And even in those Alabama games, like you know, when Georgia, you know, in 2012, like we had them on the ropes, and then all of a sudden, like they just figured out a way to win, and that's what great teams and that's what great programs do.
Yeah. I mean, it was one where, I mean, you're right. I mean, I never felt like it's not that I wasn't ever worried or anything, but I still didn't.
Right.
I felt like we were going to figure it out. I felt like we were going to come back and win. Um, I felt like there's no way we're going to let a team this one dimensional beat us. um,
Yeah.
we let them have a lot more success than I expected, but in the end, we did not let them beat us. Um, so yeah, I guess that's what surprised me the most. But for all the talk of the slow start against South Carolina and that being the Missouri game, I think this was this was closer to the Missouri game, I would say, than South Carolina was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and ironically, actually, it was the exact same point in the season. Missouri was game 5 last year. This was game 5 on the road, hostile environment. and it was tough. It was tough, but I mean, stepped up. And to talk about Carson Beck, I mean, what a fourth quarter, what a second half. I mean, really, what a game. And I mean, you mentioned the turnover thing, but I mean, he's been consistent throughout the season. But I mean, first ever road start, 23 of 33, 313 yards, one touchdown and one pick. Heck of a game from Carson. He showed me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there were the couple of drives that we had at the end of the game. I think one we ended up kicking a field goal on, which we'll get to that in a second. But then obviously the touchdown to go ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we punted it. I can't remember. But anyway, there were several season defining, series for Carson Beck in this game, and fortunately we were able to connect with. We figured out that, hey, maybe we should throw the ball to this guy Brock Bowers. He's pretty good at catching the football and running with it. Maybe we should give him the ball more than we did in the first half. And I don't know. Like, I get, like, that's not the first time that that's happened this season. So, like, I really, obviously we figured it out. I think that it's probably unfair for anybody to truly criticize Bobo. There are a handful of bonehead calls that I feel like were kind of like, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Like the end of the half, we ran the ball and then we decided to throw it, which gave them an opportunity to, come back and get the ball back before halftime.
Yeah.
There was a couple of calls, like I think it was, I don't know if it was a designed run or if Carson just decided to run, but it was like he decided to take off and run with the ball and ended up getting stuffed. I think he picked the wrong hole. I think John texted the thread like a quarterback draw on like second down and 10 or something like that.
I know Gary Daniel. I know the player you're talking about. I know Gary Daniel said that was not a called run quarterback draw.
Right.
For what it's worth, I don't know. Who knows?
I didn't think it was a called run
It didn't look
either.
like it with the way everyone was running. But so back to your what you were talking about with the drives in the second half. So the last three drives, there was a 98-yard touchdown drive that was
Right.
to tie the game at 17.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was a 7-play 71-yard drive that was the field goal to go up 20-17, and then the game winner was a 7-play 75-yard drive, touchdown
Okay.
drive. So those are the last three drives of the game. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. We closed the game well, right? And I guess it was, like I said, I think that field goal one, because we ended up getting the ball back. But yeah, it was very much a it was very much a championship caliber, like what are you made of kind of game.
Yeah.
And he probably found out more about his team in this game than he has all season.
Yeah. Yeah. The field goal drive was the one where it's actually the drive where Brock Bowers had two back-to-back one-handed catches. But the
Right.
second one didn't count because he was covered up. So we lined up wrong.
Brutal. I mean, just
Yeah.
a play that will never count, but was amazing.
Yeah. What a catch, dude. He's unbelievable. I mean, I know, like, I do think it's time to start talking about like Brock Bowers for Heisman. I know Kirby got asked that in the post game and kind of shied away from it, but then ended up saying something along the lines of, like, you tell me who's a better football player.
I mean, he's not wrong. Like, I mean, look at who in college football right now is dominating on the level that he is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that there's any, like, I don't know that there's any folks that come to mind. You could say like Caleb Williams or whatever, but like, I mean, they basically squeaked by Colorado. They got smoked by Oregon.
Yeah.
Maybe you could say Bo Nix. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I know you had started to say something about like Brock kind of first half or second half. And actually Kim and I were actually talking about that yesterday during the game, like what was the difference, and like my observation is that in the first half we were doing kind of what we've been doing with Brock with like the short passes and then then they just let him do it all on his own. But then they were tackling him, right? Like he wasn't being able to just break tackles and make things happen on its own. But in the second half, we were getting more vertical with Bowers hitting him downfield. And then he has the space to operate with,
Right. And I asked that question on the DC text thread. Like, I think I had said, you know, I, I recognize Graham responded with like the stats of how much he's generated after contact when the first pass is like a short pass or whatever, and then
Yeah.
he runs with it after the catch. And yeah, I know that he has that in his arsenal, but when he doesn't have folks that are blocking their butts off on the outside on those bubble screens and things like that, like I don't know. There seems like that I can't really pinpoint it because I'm not an X's and O's guy, but like just as a fan observing, there feels like that there's a series of plays where we decide to fling it where he is like almost up against the boundary,
Mm,
and we're asking receivers to block through that duration of pass
yeah.
time. Because when you're flinging it to the side like that, the pass is usually coming in a lot slower, right?
Hmm.
You have
Hmm.
to you have to take a step back, turn, throw. All that stuff is time, and I feel like that defenses have kind of cued in on that. Like, I mean, I felt like it got blown up a couple of times in the first half
Yeah.
pretty quickly, and it looked like that we were just. I mean, basically, you're asking Brock to catch the ball and get going, which he does get going quickly. But if he's immediately hit, I don't know. I just the percentages I feel like drop from there. But whereas we've shown, and he's shown in multiple games this season, and Beck has shown prowess in finding him. When you let him run into the secondary and find open gaps, find open seams. I mean, shoot, Beck missed him earlier this season, right? Like on a sure touchdown run.
Hmm.
I think that it's fair to criticize like why we're doing what we're doing when he's showcased in multiple ways that we can find him deeper than just a quick out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think like Bobo should be like above criticism by any mean. I still think the fire Bobo crowd is, a little ridiculous. But
For
like, I mean,
sure.
we would criticize Monken plays, right? And I think Monken is pretty widely accepted as like the best offensive play caller we've had at Georgia. But I
Right.
mean, even he wasn't perfect, and we'd be like, why the heck did you do that, right? So I mean, it's the same here.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I agree. I feel like I don't know. I feel like the kind of like the routes kind of grew throughout the game of being
And
lateral to getting deeper, right?
yeah,
And
and
then
maybe he set it up that way. Maybe he
right,
just set a rope a dope or whatever.
right, could be. And then also like welcome back, Lad, right? I mean, Lad McConkey, I know he didn't have like the deep shot bomb like he did kind of when he burst on the scene against Auburn 2 years ago, but I don't know, it was like first game back from injury, it was kind of like Lad McConkey possession receiver. I mean, like he had some really key third down catches and was doing a great job getting open on this underneath routes.
Yeah, he had a couple of big plays. I think that there was a big third down conversion late in the game, where he caught a ball on a quick out that was maybe it was on fourth down. I don't know if it was on. I think it was on third down, but because I remember Carter and I like jumping up and being like, "Yes, lad!" like,
Yeah.
but yeah, like he had some great plays. If I'm being totally honest, like he didn't seem himself. Just in a sense that like I felt like that, I'm used to seeing Lad more twitchy, for lack of a better description.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
fair.
for a first game back, obviously he's working his way back from he's working getting full speed. In soccer world, we say that he's working on his fitness.
Absolutely. And that's what Kirby said. I think Kirby said that basically Lad is I mean, he's healthy, but he's just not in game shape. I mean, wasn't able to go. I mean, he hasn't been practicing, right? So um
Right.
got to get back in game shape.
Right. But yeah. I mean, that's what when you have a player that's out, on the soccer field or whatever, like they haven't been out for a long time, and then all of a sudden they get minutes in. Usually, what happens is at least in the EPL anyway, they'll sub a player on for the last like 20-30 minutes of the game so that they can get some match fitness under
Mm.
their belt. That felt like what we saw on Saturday was a similar football style approach where they made some plays, but wasn't like a huge contributor.
Yeah, like not in the way that I guess we're used to
We're
seeing
used to
him.
seeing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean like possession wise, you know, 4 catches. I don't know. I don't know that I expected him to come in and make 4 catches, and especially like I think the first third down conversion was a pass to him. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like they were, I guess, meaningful receptions, but yeah, not those big plays. 4 catches for 38 yards. I mean, one of those similar, short but amazing. There's a third down, I think, on the first touchdown drive, I believe, where Beck hung in there in the pocket, um, got uh, got nailed really, right? Got hit right as he was throwing in, got the ball off to Rara, and then I think that was like a one-handed catch too, right? Like that was, I don't know, people making plays. It was good to see.
Right. Yep. A couple other like little things from an offensive standpoint that I would say that I would love to see more of. I was kind of puzzled. We we seem to be playing really apprehensive at the very beginning of the game. What we, like you said, we just like Brock Bowers is a great example. We tried a lot of short stuff with him. We tried a lot of short stuff with a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until we started attacking vertically that we started seeing results in terms of those big chunk plays, those explosive plays, etc. Maybe, I mean, do you feel like that's been kind of what it's been like all season? Like, I feel like that this team is just like the offense is just super apprehensive about going vertical, but when we've had a lot of success with it.
Yeah, well, and that's where I feel like, UAB, it felt like we made a point of getting vertical early, right?
Right.
This game, I would agree. I feel like we didn't. I mean, early we weren't really going deep, at least on the first drive. But to be fair, like Auburn's run defense had not been very good, and like the first drive ended where we didn't get. We ran a inside zone on a 3rd and 2. I mean, I feel like you should get 2 yards against that defense, honestly. But then, and then the other thing is, I think also to remember is I think it was the second. I think it was the second drive. I know it was early. I mean, actually, yeah, it was the play before the interception. I mean, Delp was wide open. So like we got vertical, he was just overthrown. Beck needs to put more air under that pass. He threw it too flat to Delp. And Delp wasn't able to get there. But I mean, he was wide open. He was behind the whole defense. That should have been an easy touchdown. And then the next play was the pick. So, which I don't know, maybe made us shy away from it a little bit. I don't even know that that's really the case though. But so I don't know. I don't know, man. Like I think some things didn't work out early. Great play on the ball for the pick, but again, that pick never should have happened if Beck hits Delp for a touchdown.
Yeah, and then you had Delp. Delp, had the fumble later in the game too.
Yeah, man. The beginning of the second half was not like the beginning of the second half of South Carolina. I think we kind of all expected us to just come out and do that again. And man, we did not. I mean, between that and then when they ruled the Dejan, it wasn't a fumble, but they ruled it a fumble on like the next drive. Initially, it was just like, oh my gosh, that might have been too much to overcome. I don't know, who knows, but it didn't matter anyways because it was not actually a fumble. There was another one. Did the Brock play on? I think it was on the last drive.
Yeah, that was.
Did they rule that a fumble on the field? Because I know they reviewed it and said not a fumble, but the broadcast made it sound like the ruling on the field was a fumble and recovered by Auburn, which was crazy.
I don't think that they were. But
okay.
Speaking of controversial like turnovers, there was a play at the beginning of the game where Auburn had a player who, the running back took the ball, and it was kind of on a goal line situation, and like he was stuffed and stopped, but the pocket kept moving, and the play was whistled dead really quickly. It was whistled dead super fast. But I felt like that that they were still moving. Like maybe forward progress had stopped, but there was still movement going on, which indicated that usually, if it's not backwards, usually they let them go, right? I was surprised at how quickly it was called dead, and we ended up stripping the ball in that situation. Had that play stood, we would have had an easy like scoop and score situation. But and here's the thing, like someone said, I think John even said, like, he's like, yeah, it was whistled dead as forward progress had stopped or whatever. But like like I said, the pocket was still moving laterally, and I watched multiple games like throughout the rest of the day where a similar scenario happened, and the pocket was moving backwards, and they still hadn't blown it dead. And then, like, I don't know. I felt like that the play was called prematurely dead. And then I think that there was another, like talking about the officials, there was another play that happened later in the game where I feel like Gary was talking about something. I can't remember what it was, where he was referring to like that was a missed call. I want to say, oh, it was the forward
Oh,
pass. It was the
yeah.
forward pass. So the
Yeah.
quarterback very clearly like went beyond the line of scrimmage and threw an illegal pass that ended up being complete. And they went so fast that the replay booth, I guess, apparently didn't even have a chance to review it. And we
Yeah.
didn't time out to give them time to review it. That was really weird to me. Like, I don't know. I was
Yeah.
hoping that we would have like some kind of big makeup call that would like negate that later on, but
Yeah.
it never came.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
That was a pretty big play too, as I recall. I think it was a third down. I don't remember.
Um, I think they converted third down on like when they ran up and snapped really quick or something. I'm not
Right.
sure, but
It was.
you
It
could be
was.
right. But I
Yeah.
definitely remember it. I mean, yeah, I mean, he ran beyond the line of scrimmage, then ran back behind the line of scrimmage and threw it. It's like, that sequence actually was pretty funny. Gary Danielson was like, I didn't think you could do that. Can you do that? They brought in the rules expert who confirmed you
Give
cannot do that.
as usual, saw a lot of Gary hate, and I will say that he was a little annoying at the beginning of this game for me, but probably because we were getting our butts whooped, and I was just didn't want to hear anybody talking. But he was right. Like he was right on a lot of these things, man. Like I'll go to my grave as saying that Gary Danielson is unnecessarily hated.
Yeah, I had more just general issues with the broadcast, honestly. Like they opened the broadcast with the prayer of Jordan Hare, and like that was how they opened the broadcast, and they didn't like
Bad juju from the
reciprocate.
start.
Well, they could have, like, if you're going to show that, you can't like turn around and then show Michael Johnson, like Green to Johnson right after that. Like we're going to only show an Auburn play,
Mhm.
and I thought that was kind of weird. And then like Brad Nessler could not pronounce Micaiah Muse's name right.
Yeah.
I can't remember what he kept saying. Yes, yeah,
Mickey.
like Mickey, and then he called him like Mikhail White or something, or Mikhail Muse. I don't know. It was so weird. And then he finally got it right eventually, but the first two times was a swing and a miss. And then like when we went to halftime, and Jenny Dell, the sideline reporter, asked Kirby about the team being rattled, and he was like, "I don't think we were rattled." So I don't know. I was like, man, things aren't. I don't know. That was all just kind of weird. So whatever. I don't know. I guess they're getting out of the SEC, so they can just make everybody mad now.
Yeah. Speaking of the broadcast experience, we've talked about it on the podcast. The like amount of commercials that have come out as a result of the clock changes or whatever, or at least the perceived
Yeah.
increase. So Carter at one point on the couch was like, "Oh my god, why do they keep going to the commercial?" If that's not a kid that's been raised in a Netflix world, I don't know what it is.
Seriously, I do feel like it'll be like timeout, commercial, punt, commercial. I'm like come on, guys. I don't know.
There was definitely like the moment that like made him snap was like we had just come out of a commercial, a run and play, and then there was no injury, there was no like nothing. It was just like, oh, let's go to commercial.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's annoying. One thing I did forget to call out that was amazing that I like freaked out about was Brock Bowers, fullback.
Oh
Brock
yeah.
got a carry from the fullback spot, and I was just like, yes. So that made me happy. Man,
Right.
we had like a weird formation one time too, with like when there were three backs. It was like Bowers, Edwards, and Dylan Bell all in the backfield one time. That one was interesting. I have to
Wasn't
go
it
back and
what
rewatch.
wasn't the Bowers fullback play? Was that a potential like score? I
It
can't
was like
remember
a
what the scenario was.
No, it was a third. Oh,
It was a
for the
short
drive.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
like a 3rd and 2. Like he converted a 3rd and 2, just fullback dive up the
that's what it
middle
was.
with
Yeah.
Brock Bowers. It was amazing. It was beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah. I feel like
Sorry.
Bobo was setting us up for a play down the road where they put him in the fullback position for a touchdown.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty sweet. That was pretty sweet. All right, well, why don't we take a quick minute to remind everyone that season 4 of My God a Podcast is presented by Oxia Time. So Oxia Time is a Swiss watch company. They make custom Swiss watches, and you've got to check out their 2021 and 2022 Georgia National Championship watch collection. So they've got them in multiple colors, multiple faces, multiple watch band styles as well. So be sure to go check them out at axiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. And you can use the code MyGodAPodcast at checkout to get a custom presentation box to go along with your watch so you can have it on display in your home as well.
Absolutely.
All right. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know that we have to go like offense, defense, or whatever, but I guess we could.
I mean, we just spent a lot of time talking about the offense. Did you have any other comments about the offense? And then I do have some comments that I want to make about the defense. I'll along those same lines, and this might be a good segue into the defense.
Okay.
I'll let you go. Did you have anything else?
No,
Otherwise...
I mean, I don't know, man. Like Brock Bowers, amazing. Dejon Edwards, really good. I don't know. I felt like the backs did well. Okay. The other thing I'll say is the way Dejon Edwards gets so low to the ground is incredible. The second touchdown he scored, the one that was on the toss sweep, there was a point where he like ducked under people, and he does that all the time. It's just so cool to watch. So I don't know. I love it. Like again, you had a fullback getting first downs and then toss sweep scoring touchdowns is my kind of offense on those plays.
I mean, I've been wanting to see this little cannonball roll for a while now. Ever since he was spelling time for DeAndre Swift and those guys. But yeah, so a couple of things. So speaking of the running game, Dylan Bell, I feel like we need to see more of Dylan Bell in the backfield. Kid seems like he would be a serious weapon for us coming out of the backfield as both a receiver and a running back. I thought he did really well. Other things that I'd like to note, Brock Bowers certainly a special player, but like if the offense is struggling, Dominic Lovett and Ra Thomas, if I'm sitting in their shoes, I'm probably frustrated. Those are two of the best wide receivers in the SEC from last year, and they haven't really done anything. I don't know if we're not just giving them looks or if they're not doing the right things on the blocking side of things. I mean, Dominic got some opportunities, but Ra Thomas, like we're talking about the vertical passing game. Ra has come up big at multiple points this season. I really wish that we would give him more looks deep. He just seems like he's kind of like our AD Mitchell type person in terms of making those big plays deep. I mean, I think he had a big pass catch late in the game around the goal line, and I feel like that was. I would love to just see more of Ra Thomas, just straight up.
Yeah.
Other things from the offense. The other big thing that I'd like to comment on is the dueling punters.
Yeah.
The punting situation for Auburn was definitely, I was like, man, we didn't have it in the game notes, but like another game where the punter is the story. He kept pinning us back deep.
No, man, we talked about the punter because we talked about his look.
We did talk about his look, yes. Well,
He was from the same he's from that Pro Kick Australia, man. That's like that's the punter factory. So yeah, dude, he was a weapon. I mean, he was the preseason Ray
guy,
all SEC preseason or whatever. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, both of those punters showed out. But the other thing that I'll say, and this can probably segue into the defensive conversation, is the offensive line has been so inconsistent.
Yeah.
I think that moving forward, what I want to see from these teams, from our team moving forward, is consistency. we've been so inconsistent. I mean, this game is such a perfect case for that argument. First half, I felt like we were garbage. In the fourth quarter, we were lights out on along the lines, both lines, and that's where
Yeah.
I think that the segue comes in, is that we just got bullied on both lines of scrimmage, and I don't really understand. Like to start the game early on, like Fairchild, he whiffed on a block that I just felt like they had guys coming in completely unblocked, meaning that someone has missed their assignment.
Mhm.
Whether it's a really nicely disguised blitz where the middle linebacker comes in and just lays out Carson Beck on a delayed blitz that the running back didn't pick up on because he's looking elsewhere so late in the play. I don't know, man. But I felt like that we got pushed around more so than we're used to seeing this team. And I hate to say it, Jim, but I'm gonna have to have a conversation with my friend Stacy Searles, man, because I need to see some more out of that offensive line unit.
Yeah. Yeah. We're down Mims. But I mean, we've
Next man
recruited
up.
like we recruited like crazy. Yeah, we've had offensive linemen go down before in the past. So yeah, I gotta step in there. Yeah.
Which to my concern, like, I don't doubt that Stacy can coach, but I don't know. Maybe he's having, I don't know. I guess I'll hold complete judgment for later, but I had concerns about Stacy Searles when he was announced as a hired
Yeah.
offensive
Yeah.
line.
Yep.
But this is the type of performance that I feel like I was used to. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah. You guys have a rocky relationship, John.
We have a rocky relationship, yes. But flip side, this defensive line is also struggling. We have not been able to set an edge to save our life all season long.
Yeah, it was frustrating, man. And that was what I said it earlier, but I'll repeat it. Like, I did not think that a team so one-dimensional would be able to gash us like that. Because we knew that all we had to worry about was the run. I mean, they couldn't throw the ball against us, like they can't throw the ball against anyone. I mean, they hit a few plays, but they didn't even have 100 yards passing, which
Right.
is par for the course for them. I mean, they tend to not, they hadn't been doing that against Power Five opponents. So like, I guess no surprise there. I mean, 88 yards passing in this game, and they scored 20 points. But again, I mean, turnovers, great equalizer, right? 14 points off turnovers. But it also though wasn't like we turned the ball over inside the red zone or something like that. Like they still had to go a little bit of ways off of both of those turnovers. But knowing that there was no passing game and for them to be able to rush for over 200 yards was crazy to me. Like, I thought there was no way they're going to be able to run the ball like that. And certainly not Peyton Thorne being able. I mean,
Right.
I know like that's what they
Yeah.
do and everything, but man, thankfully we were able to run him down on that one long play. I thought he was gone for a second, but
Yeah.
thankfully we were able to run him down.
Yeah. I think at one point in the second half, I was messaging the thread like they had 6 total attempts, and we were still having a struggle on getting to the quarterback, making plays, getting stops, etc. Yeah, dude. So here's the thing. So if you remove that Peyton Thorne performance,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that the game completely gets flipped. I like at multiple points throughout the game, I was actually like grateful that Hugh Freeze, I almost said Gus Malzahn. I was grateful that Hugh Freeze was making the rotation decisions that he was making, because in my opinion, he killed his team's momentum by putting in Robbie Ashford. And I
Yeah.
feel like that was like, the announcers even said it that Kirby was like concerned about Robbie Ashford or whatever because of what he did last year or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, dude, I mean, look at the stat line. Like, Peyton Thorne is your starting quarterback. Like, there's no reason to bring in Robbie Ashford, in my opinion. Like, literally no reason at all. I just don't understand why they feel like that they needed him as part of the game plan, because when he came in, I feel like was when Georgia started doing well. And then when Peyton Thorne came in, things started going, not quite as good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all those runs, like there was multiple situations. I mean, Peyton Thorne, he was playing Ole with one of our defensive ends. Um, Chaz Chambliss, I feel like was crashing down. Of course, we were joking about it. Like there was one play late in the game where he was crashing down that actually like caused them to, was it a turnover on
That was a
downs?
turnover on downs play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were giving him hell all game long for crashing down on the running back, which I guess you didn't expect pregame that the running back was going to be able to do what he did, or the quarterback was going to be able to do what he did. But like at the same time, you got to make adjustments in game, right? Like the quarterback is clearly being a factor in the running game.
Yeah.
I just don't understand our approach on defense. And I think that Glenn Schumann, Will Muschamp, they're both co-defensive coordinators. I don't really know who's in charge of what in terms of the game plan. But they both deserve criticism from this game because there's no reason that we should be as exposed as we were on the edges. And if I'm Auburn, at one point I was like, why is Auburn even like trying to run up the middle? Like they should just keep running on the edges because every single time they run on the edge, there's literally nobody there for Georgia.
Yeah. I mean, on that line, there's something that Kirby said after the game that I thought was pretty interesting. He said that so Kirby got a question about the success of the Auburn quarterbacks running the ball, and he said they copied some things UAB did, and he said, and we expected that. That's what's disappointing. You expect it and you don't stop it. So that is kind of crazy. That they felt like UAB that they were going to pick up something that UAB did, and we still couldn't stop it. So I don't know, that I'm sure that's frustrating, but I think it's on the coaches, right, to get that message through to the kids. So
yeah, but at the same time, it's also on the coaches that are putting the kids out there, right? At some point, the kids are not producing. The edge has been an issue all season long.
Yeah.
And at some point, you've got to make a decision on whether or not you're going to play certain kids and whether or not you're going to play certain freshmen, right? Like give the freshmen a chance. If these guys aren't getting it done, like we've got to say, okay, like show me what you can do. Show me, Kirby likes to say, oh, you're a 5-star recruit. Show me.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that our defensive ends are showing a whole lot right now. I mean, it concerns me. In the lead up here, I feel like was it Drew Butler that I heard was talking to? Who was he talking to? I can't remember who he was talking to. But when you've got a defensive back leading the team in tackles, that's not a good situation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, first team to rush for over 200 yards against the Georgia defense since 2018 LSU. So that's pretty crazy. I did not expect this team of all teams to be the one to do that.
Yeah, seriously. Like, and especially Peyton Thorne. Like,
yeah.
If you remove all of the success that he had on the ground, they really didn't do a whole lot. And like you said, you look at the stat line, it's like, okay, 88 yards passing, 219 yards rushing, blah, blah, blah. Like Georgia had two turnovers. Like, it's kind of like you and I like to always play that game. Like if I'd have told you before the game, we had a couple interception, a fumble, interception, and they had 219 yards rushing. Like, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe that model that we were joking about pre-game.
College football nerds.
What do they know?
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, well, and Thorne, right? So he had 92 yards net rushing. I mean, 61 of those were on that one play.
Yeah. But he did have some drives that were extended because
he did.
Like we tried to set the edge, and this has happened a couple of times too. Like we actually didn't allow them to beat us on the edges, but what we did was we over pursued on the outside, which basically just like parted the ocean for him to take off on another big chunk run.
Yeah.
That's happened a couple of times this season too. It's like, dude, it's like, feast or famine on the defensive line all season long. I joked about this, but like, Georgia had set itself up to have multiple guys come up through the ranks. We had Jordan Davis, we had Jalen Carter, And the gap here is, and I feel like maybe that's what we're seeing, is that we just don't have the next guy in line just yet. Bear Alexander was supposed to be that guy for us, and he transferred to go to USC, right? You could probably argue, based on what I've heard, whether or not it was a good thing for us or not. But like the kid, I feel like that he would have excelled in this scenario.
Yep. Yeah. Neither here nor there. But
right. But
so
I'm just saying, like,
no, you're not wrong. So would have AD Mitchell, like, for that matter. But
who's the next guy up on the defensive line that would have replaced him? You know what I mean? Like,
yep. Yeah.
We've got to accelerate the development.
Yeah. No, agreed. I mean, I guess like on that note, right? Like we've talked about, I don't know, man, like I just think back to like 2021 where it was like, how long did it take until someone even scored like a rushing touchdown on us, like period? Like we just like didn't let guys into the end zone on the ground. Right. And it's not like, we're not playing to that standard right now. I mean, I don't think there's any way around it. So yeah, I mean, what's it going to take for us to get there, or will we get there? I mean, this team doesn't have to be as good as last year's team to be good or even great, right? We're not playing against the field from last year. We're playing against the field from this year. So I think this season in general is a lot different. So I don't know, like I know there's a lot of like moaning and groaning and griping about expectations, et cetera, but I don't know. Like I do feel like you don't necessarily have to be as good, but I mean, it's definitely a drop off. Like there's kind of no way around it. I mean, I don't know. I know we say in the defense we trust, in Kirby we trust. Can we ride the defense this season like we have been though?
Right. Well, I mean, here's another factor that I think I'll touch on is maybe what we're seeing here, Jim, is just, I mean, it's just we have so many young guys on defense.
Mm-hmm.
You've got let's see, CJ Allen, Dumas Johnson, junior freshman, Jalen Walker's a sophomore, Sori's a redshirt sophomore, Smiles a junior. I'm not sure what's in Damon Wilson or Pemba. I don't know.
Pemba's a freshman.
Pemba's a freshman. Yeah. Darius Smith's a sophomore. Marvin Jones Jr. sophomore. Chaz Chambliss is a junior. Is Warren Brinson like the only true like senior starter on this defensive line? Like what's
on the line? I mean,
Stackhouse.
I was gonna say Stackhouse, like whether he is necessarily out there on the first play or not. But yeah.
Right.
But I mean, that was kind of the question this year, right? Is like those were the guys that were spelling.
Michael Williams, a sophomore.
But they were like spelling those guys that we were talking about, right? Like Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and now like they are the guy, right? So I mean, it's definitely, I mean, it's a new space for them to be in, and I think they're still learning how to be the guy,
Right. I mean, we've obviously got some experience in the secondary. Tyke Smith, like holy cow, like dude, he's playing out of his shoes right now. Javon Bullard, same thing. But we definitely have some questions in the secondary as well. Dalen Everett, I feel like, is going to be a guy that's going to continue to get picked on all season long, because he just feels like it's kind of he's the new guy to get picked on, right?
I mean, to be fair, that guy last year was Keely Ringo.
Right.
I mean, like, which again, I mean, I don't know, NFL draft pick. So I'm just saying, I've seen a lot about Everett and everything, and I'm hearing that a lot. I mean,
he's a sophomore though.
He is, but I thought he played pretty good yesterday. I mean, he made some.
I thought he
made some
that
huge
one play
plays.
where he punched the ball out.
He had that play, and then there was another one. There was like a fade down the sideline. I mean, and like Auburn was crying for interference or whatever, but like I thought that was good coverage too. So I don't know. I thought he played pretty well personally.
I bring up number 6 because I feel like that's a number that kind of like Ringo last year. Like oh dang it, Ringo! Like even amongst us, right?
That's
like
why that's why I brought it up.
He's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde person or whatever, but he's still only a sophomore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've got Kamari Lassiter. I'm curious to see like what's going on with Julian Humphrey. Like I don't know. I thought that would have been a guy that we would see more of, but he's one of those guys that's like maybe we'll start to see more of them as the season rolls on and they start giving these guys some opportunity to make some moves.
Yeah, we very may. Yeah, I don't know.
Malachi Starks, sophomore. Like we've got a lot of youth on this defense, and maybe we haven't given them credit enough to allow them to grow up. Into the defense that we're used to seeing, where this isn't a situation like with 21 where you had Jordan Davis, you had all of the guys, Nolan Smith, you had oh my gosh, like all of the guys that came through, right? Like everybody that left that after that season.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't have the soundboard hooked up, John, but Robert Beal, right?
Yeah.
He's not walking through that door either. So
right. Anyway, this is kind of the team. Like we're literally watching what appears to be a championship, potential team grow up.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. You want to review coaches over unders?
Yeah, we don't have to.
I extended my lead. I went. Where did I go? Not by much. I went 5-3. You went 4-4. Fading you on the miscellaneous did not work because Gary Danielson definitely hit the over on mentioning UGA slow starts. So I am two up on you. So moment by moment, you can still work your way back, John.
Moment by moment, Jim.
Thanks again, Coach.
We're not
for
rattled.
Tracking this.
We're not rattled.
Nice. Thanks again, Coach Trillbill, for telling those for us. Much appreciated. Let's see what else you got, JP. I don't know. Like, I guess we definitely underestimated the voodoo at Jordan Hare. Is kind of how I talked it up. I did tweet that I blamed Scott Duvall because he predicted like a super close game. I said it was his fault.
That's funny. I blame you, Scott. No, I would say the only thing that we probably haven't given enough credit for is we had a pretty big payday.
Oh, good call. Expand, John. Expand.
I mean, he came in clutch for us, right? Like he hit what two big field goals for us.
Yeah.
He had been kind of iffy all season long. I mean, you talk about Carson Beck coming in, first time, first career rib start for him, same thing. So guy had been pretty, he's been kind of off, for lack of a better description, at least more so than what we're used to in the past.
Yeah.
And he came in clutch for us, and I think that he deserves a lot of credit because he nailed both of his kicks.
He did. He absolutely split the uprights. They were perfect.
Right. There was no doubt, like, which you can't say the same thing for Auburn because they had one kick that was like, oh, is he going to make it? There was no doubt. As soon as the ball left his foot, it was good.
Yeah. Agreed. That's a good call, JP. That's a good call. Can't believe I left out payday. Also, I still have to send it to you. I noticed that Carson Beck and Payday have a bit of a handshake that they do after a field goal make. So might have to give that. I think I need to find a better angle of it than when I saw it. It was a little far away. But
okay.
And I on that note, we also had our first like really good gifable moment in the post game with Brock Bowers stroking his chin.
I'm glad that you and I were both on the same page. As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh, sweet Lord!"
That was the best. It was the best. Like inside baseball, when you texted me, I believe your text was Brock Bowers stroking his chin .gif, and I was like, "I'm on it, already on it."
Yeah, it was like as usual. We agree.
Holy cow!
Because I'll be honest, like Brock and Brock and Carson haven't been like the greatest GIF moments. Like they're not like Stetson where we're dropping mix and doing air guitars and all the different things. And Brock basically, sometimes you see the guys celebrate and stuff, but like Brock is like a lunch pail guy. Like he goes and like, I mean, the guy scored what was the go ahead touchdown that effectively was the game winner, and turned around and was like, all right, let's line up for the kick, guys.
Yeah. I thought it was nice too. Like, I mean, every game it's just been Carson getting interviewed. So I did think it was nice that they let someone else talk on TV too.
I feel like
got
they've
Brock out there.
interviewed Brock a few times.
This season, though, I feel like it's been Carson like every game.
Oh yeah.
Although I don't know, I've been at the games. I don't know, maybe I missed a couple.
The only reason I
Going
say
back
that is
rewatching.
because I know that my wife has made comments before like, that's Brock Bowers.
Right.
Bless his heart. The guy is an absolute killer out there. But yeah, I would say that yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that. He's gonna make a lot of money in the NFL. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Hey, maybe he needs a My God a Podcast hat. That's what he needs.
That's neat. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more NIL situations like that. Like the whole, like my buddy has this like audio visual like company, like kind of like an Entourage, like where they like, hey man, you just gotta wear this hat on the interview. Just put this hat on. Like
right.
Just gotta tell you, go down to Jim Bob's AV.
Yeah.
Or like a Coke bottle. Like I'm surprised that we haven't had anybody coming through like, hey, what does Brock Bowers do? I don't know. Whoever I think like last year it was like Stetson, like someone like rolls up with some Raising Cane's, like
right.
I'm just gonna take a bite of this Raising Cane's chicken.
Amazing.
Not a sponsor
yet. Well, if you need a My God a Podcast hat, head over to mygodapodcast.com/store. Check out the new site. Working Web Media helped us put it together. If you need help with your website or your online presence, be sure to go check them out at workingwebmedia.com/dogs, and they will know that we sent you their way. All right, JP. I know for me, post game, actually in the fourth quarter, we were like sending Lily went away.
I was just
went off to homecoming.
Yeah.
it was good. She had fun. So it was like I said, it was just, they just went friend group. Wasn't like a super extravagant or anything. So like we took some pictures at the house, and then just Kim took Lily over to the friends, and it did pictures there, which apparently Kim was like listening to Scott Howard through her phone in her AirPods while like taking pictures at the friend's house. So apparently Kim screamed in front of everyone when Starks got the pick to seal the game. But it was good, man. It was good. Time flies. I can't believe my youngest was going to her first homecoming dance. It's kind of crazy.
That is kind of crazy. I remember that last year.
So
yeah. Other than that, how was the weekend?
It was good. I mean, so when I did sit out, I was basically on the porch like all day yesterday. So we did the bean dip. We did wings. I actually did wings on the Big Green Egg. So we had bean dip and wings, very healthy meal for dinner. Did that, and then I sat out, made a fire at when the sun went down. But sat out there for Ole Miss LSU, and that game was amazing. But that game was fun to watch, and then Duke Notre Dame was fun. So
Duke Notre Dame was so fun to watch. Which, like, man, if you'd have told me before the season that I would say something like that, or if go back in time 5 years, hey, just so you know, I think Duke's going to be good one year.
Right?
What?
Yeah. I felt bad for him at the end.
I mean, I'm going to feel bad for them when Mike Elko signs for, I don't know, he'll probably end up at Florida with our luck, but because good gracious, like,
yeah,
what's going on with Florida, man?
Yeah, seriously.
It couldn't happen to a better bunch. Let's see, what else? What are some other good games? I feel like I saw Nick Saban have some really epic rage strokes on the sideline for Ole Miss. Matter of fact, he was quoted as like when they asked him like, "Hey, coach, what did you do?" and he was like, "Well, did you just see me lay into them like not a few seconds ago?" Like it was the most Nick Saban moment ever.
Yeah, I didn't watch as much of that game. It wasn't super entertaining to me.
I didn't watch very much of it either. One game that I wish that I watched more of was the USC Colorado game. Like, holy cow, that game was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I think I went grocery shopping for the bean dip stuff, and then because USC was up big, right? And then Colorado came back. So
yeah. Oh, I mean, you're telling me that a Lincoln Riley coach team almost allowed a comeback or almost lost. Like,
right.
I feel like that's just the story. Like you have to jump out and score more than the rest of the team in the first half than if you want to win that game.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Back on the note of this college football season is kind of crazy. I mean, we had a scare, but so did Washington. So Washington is that team that, everyone has started to kind of question, should they be getting some first place votes, et cetera. And they struggled with Arizona. So
they struggled. Who else struggled? Our friends down at the trade school.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, what was they were wearing black uniforms, but I can't. But they called them like the ghost uniforms.
The ghost uniforms.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work out. The Bowling Green, like, did you see the Sports Center catch that their receiver made? The Bowling Green receiver.
I haven't seen any of the highlights. All I know is that they lost and they wore glow in the dark uniforms at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yes, all true. So there's a Bowling Green receiver made a one-handed touchdown catch that was pretty sweet.
Check it out.
Yeah. It was nice.
All I know is that you had given me that nugget. Carter actually asked me today. He's like, "Who else? Like, were there any upsets?" And I was like, "I don't think so." And I was like, "Well, Georgia Tech lost to Bowling Green at home." He goes, "They lost."
Nice. Hey, all in all, not a bad Saturday when the Dogs win. Florida loses and Tech loses.
So we didn't mention it. We mentioned it on the preview. The Fighting Hunters.
Yeah. That was the game that I watched the most of. At least I watched like the fourth quarter when our game was over. So
that game was drunk in the first quarter.
Yeah, that game was fun. And so Kim and I were sitting watching that, and it's like, it's a lot more fun. You can enjoy it when you're not stressed at all. Like when it's not you and you see teams going through that, I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, seriously. Especially when you're outside in the fire. I'm a little jealous. Carter was like, are we going to take the TV outside? I was like, no, dude, it's like almost 90 degrees outside.
Yeah. But again, man, with all the talk of how easy our schedule looked preseason, Ole Miss looking pretty good. Kentucky coming in undefeated like we thought they could. Missouri still looking pretty good. So I don't know. Shouldn't judge all that stuff before the season starts. I think
we need to learn that. So I mean, even like as recently as today, like people are telling us that our schedule is still super weak. The strength of schedule and all this kind of nonsense. And like, I mean, what if we end up playing these teams and let's say we run the table, right? And our Kentucky's their only we are Kentucky's only loss. We are Missouri's only loss. They run the table. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's so many different scenarios that could happen.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, man. Well, it was either the 128th or 130th edition of the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Depending on who you ask.
that was another inside baseball moment where before the game even started, I sent you a text message 128 ? And you were like, what?
I didn't even know. It took me a minute to figure out what you meant. I got it before you had to tell me.
I was impressed.
I did figure it out. Yeah. Well, hey, that's like I said, man. It's not a rivalry unless the schools disagree on what the all-time series record is.
I guess that's also an indicator of like, if your schools disagree on the record or whatever, it's probably an indication that you should play every year.
Yeah, seriously. Amen. Yeah, I don't like it being in September either. That game needs to be in November. But get off my lawn. All right, man. Well, it was fun catching up, talking about the game as always. We got the game that looms large up next.
It's up. We're less than a week out.
Yeah. We've been waiting on this one since the summer.
We've been waiting on this one since we found out British Bulldog was coming in town. Oh,
true.
Do we know if Hunter's coming in town too?
I don't know. I know he's coming for Ole Miss. I don't know if he's coming for this one. We got to ask him.
We need to lay some peer pressure. If you know Hunter, pressure him into going.
Nice. All right, man. Well, it was fun, and we will. Well, you and I will be back tomorrow. If you're listening, we'll be back soon.
We will preview the Kentucky Wildcats. But in the meantime, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.